Welcome to another round of Boardroom or Miro Board. Today we talk retrospectives with Agile coach Maria. Let's go. First question. You've spent 2 hours in a team retro, but the only input you've heard is Dave's. Boardroom or Miro Board?
Boardroom. In Miro, Dave can't hog the space because everyone can add thoughts anonymously, online at the same time.
Correct. Next. You need the team to act on feedback fast, so you turn all those retro notes into Jira tasks instantly.
Miro all the way. And I can assign those tasks to teammates.
You're nailing this. Now, you see hundreds of sticky notes from the retro. A real mess. But you organize them into 5 themes in just seconds.
Miro, I basically get back an entire hour when I use its AI tools for clustering.
And she's done it.
Join over 60 million people running actually enjoyable and actionable retros in Miro. Get your first 3 boards free at Miro.com. That's Miro.com.
This is Donald Parham. You're listening to Chargers Unleashed, part of the LAFB Network. Stay jiggy.
Hey, this is Chris from the second, Chargers outside linebacker, and make sure you check out Chargers Unleashed. Guys, the Chargers Unleashed, Sebastian Joseph, they know the vibes, we outside.
You checking in with Mike Williams from the LA Chargers, and you're tuning into the Chargers Unleashed.
You're listening to the Chargers Unleashed podcast with your host, Dan Wolkenstein and Jake Hefner.
Welcome to another edition of Chargers Unleashed. Jake Hefner and Dan Wolkenstein here with you from the LAFB Network. Today's show, of course, is being brought to you by BetOnline, Charger Bold Family, Rock Solid Sports Memorabilia, and Athletic Greens. If this is your first time tuning into the show, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. Dan Wolkenstein, for the first time under the Chargers Unleashed banner, for the first time in 4 years.
Oh, say it again.
We get to talk about Chargers playoff football. Get the regular season out of here, man. I'm done with it. I'm done with it. One way or another, I'm finished with it. I don't care about it anymore. Everything back to square one. Chargers gearing up for their first playoff game. Wild card weekend. Chargers versus the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Jake, men, women, children of all ages, the Chargers, the Los Angeles Chargers, lock up the 5 seed, are the top wildcard team in the AFC. I believe the 4th best record in the AFC as well. Chargers play primetime Saturday night. So much to cover. First and foremost, for those in the comments, for those who are watching live, give us a quick like and subscribe. You know how to do this. We love doing live shows. This is for the fans of the audience, so make this as engaging as possible. So leave us comments, leave us questions, leave us ideas, things you're happy about, things you're upset about, things you'd like to see come playoff time. What do you expect with the Jaguars? Should Jake wear a hat forwards or backwards? Should I wear a hat to hide my mug? Whatever you want. Say it all. We're here for you. Jake, nothing is going to take the shine away from the fact that these Los Angeles Chargers are now in playoff football. Not even you are going to take away the shine. I'm not letting it happen. Not letting it happen. Going into this game, it looks like we have everyone ready to play.
Luckily.
Ready to play. Possibly Rashawn Slater. Yes, I think Mike Williams will be playing against the Jaguars. It was alluded to that as much today. Questions, comments, concerns by people in the chat, put them in there and we'll go ahead and play them. We'll put them on the show. Give us a shout out, however you want to do. Jake, I got to start this thing off with a simple question.
Oh, man.
Over or under? Over or under?
I don't know. I wonder why I would not have guessed that this question was incoming.
Over or under how many F-bombs Jake has on this show? I'm going to put the over and under 1.5.
What? Man, everybody start pounding me over if that's the case.
Jake's never happy. That's why. Okay, Jake, let's talk about our friends over at BetOnline real quick so we can get into some of these questions.
Well, we want to remind everybody that over at Bet Online is going to be remaining your number one source for all of your sports betting needs this season. You'll always find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends over at Bet Online. And as your continued source for all sports wagering information, Bet Online features live betting, free contests, and giveaways all season long. Always the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports and events, whether that's NFL, for gearing up for the playoffs, NBA, NHL, MMA, tennis, boxing, or even golf. Head on over to betonline.ag to join and receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. And make sure to use that promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your rewards. Bet Online, where the game starts.
Scott Childs, we'll start off with you. By the way, love the kind of Bitmoji, whatever thing you got going on your YouTube channel. It looks great. Looks like it's a Chargers fan as well. But Scott Childs chimes in. Not going to lie, Joe Lombardi had a good game plan and play calling. Jake Hefner. Folks have been bitching. We have been for most of the season. Where the hell is this Chargers offense? Why is nobody healthy? Why can't we get efficiency? Why can't they score third quarter touchdowns? Why can't we get red zone touchdowns? Last couple of weeks, Jake, his offense has looked pretty good, pretty healthy. And aside from 2 offensive skill positions causing turnovers, fumbles yesterday, this Chargers team could have put up 40 on a top 10 defense in the Broncos. So, good game plan, good play calling. Folks were clamoring to see this in the last 2 weeks going into the playoffs. They're seeing it. What say you?
You know, for, let's just say, all the crap that happened yesterday in
Shut up. No, we're not there yet. We'll get to it.
Let me finish my sentence. You can't ignore it. You can't get away from it still. I know we're in playoff mode, but still, even in everything that all the fan base was still distraught over with yesterday. Dan, my immediate conversation with you after the game, if there was any silver lining that took place, was the offensive game plan actually looked pretty good. Justin Herbert looked pretty damn sharp. And if it wasn't for 3 drive killers, one being the Austin Eckler fumble, the other being the Gerald Everett drop on third down, where he literally had about 12 or 15 yards ahead of him. And then the third, obviously, after DeAndre Carter caught a great pass, looked like a great long run to extend it. And then Justin Simmons made his presence known once again by causing that fumble and a turnover. Yeah, the Chargers ultimately could have came out with this game with a win, even by pulling their starters in the fourth quarter. But offensively, the game plan, I thought, opened up a little bit more downfield. The protection was a little bit better for Justin Herbert, obviously, in this one. That has been a reason in the past to why he hasn't been able to. Well, it's been one reason, but of the many reasons that we have criticized Joe Lombardi on this show. Again, I'm not stepping off my banner just yet. But going into the playoffs, that was a little bit of the momentum, let's just say, that I liked to see. So from Justin Herbert's standpoint, looked sharp, looked on the money. I thought over these last 2 weeks, especially after those 2 turnover games that he had against Tennessee and Indianapolis, that he needed to get his self right. And I feel like he's done that these past 2 weeks. So offensive game plan, Joe Lombardi, it's playoff time. Just continue with what works and open up that playbook a little bit more.
We are Chargers Unleashed live playoff edition. Questions, comments, put them in the chat. We'll go ahead and discuss these live. The show is going to be yours. You guys have the steering wheel, so we will go as far as you guys would like us to go. Jake, let's look at another one of these comments. Connor says, I want to see Herbert go nuclear in the playoffs. He deserves this. Hell yes, he does. Hell yes. Prime time Herbie, baby.
You may need him to go nuclear.
That's what this is for. That's what you got him for.
Hey, I'm all for it.
Now, it's interesting. Justin Herbert, if you go back and look at the season, right? Statistically, other than like yards, if you just were a stat guy and didn't watch any games, you'd be like, wow, Justin Herbert regressed. Like, he didn't do that great this year. But that is not true. And you look at each of these games and some of the quote unquote interceptions that has come to him on accident because of people either dropping or tip passes or people going the wrong direction, i.e. Gerald Everett week 2 against the Chiefs. Justin Herbert could have 30 plus touchdowns easy. And again, all this on broken ribs. Justin Herbert, healthy. He's got Mike Williams, got Keenan Allen, got Gerald Everett, got Austin Eckler. Offensive line is fully intact other than Rashawn Slater, who might actually be there, which we'll talk about. A nuclear Justin Herbert on primetime Saturday night is going to be a sight to see. And that's what has everybody excited. If you look at the playoff quarterbacks, which is crazy to me. Someone tweeted me today, Jake.
Just in the AFC.
Just in the AFC. Did you know Patrick Mahomes is the oldest quarterback in the AFC playoff picture? Like, isn't that crazy?
Future is bright for the NFL.
We got a quarterback room of Tua, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes,
Joe
Burrow, and then hopefully Lamar Jackson. You can argue those are the 7 best quarterbacks in the AFC, all in the playoffs. So I think things happen correctly. We'll see if Tua plays. We'll see if Lamar Jackson plays. But Jake, I like this draw. Chargers versus Jaguars. It's the team I'd rather play as a wild card team, which we'll get into kind of that matchup. Let's see. Fredo has a question. Slater update. Jake, did you get a chance to listen to the press conference today?
I did. I heard Brandon Staley's comments on Rashawn Slater. It's, kind of a little vague. Are you leading to one side or the other? Because he basically was just saying how proud he was to get himself to a point where he possibly could play. But basically, in so many words and paraphrasing, it didn't really give an update as to one way or the other. So if I'm gauging the tea leaves off of this, again, we still have to wait for an announcement for the Chargers to officially activate him in the 21-day window for him to play.
I think he's playing. I think he's playing.
Dan, you're still going to be the optimist of the two of us. I'm still going to say that if he plays,
it's next week.
I would say he's got a better chance of doing it next week.
I think he's playing. I think it's going to be similar to what we saw with Joey Bosa, where they were like, oh, you'll see he's progressing well, and then bam, he's activated and going. I think he's going to play. My fingers are crossed.
I would love to see it, and I hope to God I'm wrong. But we'll see.
And Austin Eckler said it on the last show that we had him on, which if you haven't had a chance to go listen / watch it, it was a great discussion with him, one of the most insightful ones we've had. Shout out to Jamari Salyer, by the way. Austin Eckler talked about it. Unsung hero. You don't hear anybody talking about, wow, that left tackle's kind of a weak link.
It's always a plus.
Jamari Salyer literally has saved the Chargers season, being able to be a formidable backup for Rashawn Slater. So you take that all day, every day. Jake, question comes in from Anthony. Anthony Vu asks, does it concern y'all? I wonder are you from Texas, Anthony? Let us know. Does it concern y'all that we couldn't establish a run game with our starters?
No. I mean, look, let's just say this. It shouldn't surprise anybody. Maybe that should be the word. It shouldn't surprise anybody. Look, the run game has been inconsistent all season long. And yes, you've had good weeks, you've had bad weeks. You look at last week against the Rams, very good week. The Chargers coaching staff was very committed to still be committed to the run, and it worked out really, really well last week against the Rams. This week, going up against a much better defense, didn't really work out for you that well. So in order to make a playoff push, yes, the Chargers are going to have to establish the run, and I'm sure that Staley is not going to veer away from it, even in times where he should, and he should rely on, the cannon number 10 to get the job done. But still, I understand where the concern comes in. I think in this game, the aspect of it being overly concerned in a game that really did not mean anything when it came down to it, it still didn't bother me that well. But you need to get it going. That is for sure. There's no question about that. So surprised? No. Is it a focus heading into this week against the Jaguars? 100%.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about it. I think you'd like to see it, and screw it. All right, let's just get into it. This week 18 was kind of a weird one. Chargers found out that they were not having anything to play for other than, again, this is not me saying it. This is, I think, what the coach is saying. Other than for some momentum, other than to kind of iron out some kinks on offense and defense, get some guys some reps, establish a winning identity and culture and the Chargers, statistically, seeding wise, there's nothing positive they can get from winning or even playing that game, to be honest, other than like playing you and me and a couple other people. Jake, you and I talked about it. What we wanted was to see, regardless of the outcome, if the Chargers did not need to play to win that game, we wanted to see a couple series with this offense, see it humming. That's a wrap. Chargers offense, couple series, humming. Jake and I, both. That's a wrap.
Not just you and I. If you follow the Chargers Twitter timeline, basically, the fan base was saying like, okay, that's great. Pull him. Get him out. No more.
And
nada.
Minute by minute by minute, the heart rate, the blood pressure of Chargers fans everywhere. The announcers talked about it. Twitter was ablaze. People were pissed. People were stressed.
Rightfully so.
Okay, rightfully so. People were upset. Hold on. I'll say this. Rightfully so. People can disagree with it and did not like it. But like the extent that people got in their feelings on Chargers Twitter was like another level. And so all this to say, I think the Week 18 was way more stressful than we thought it would be, than we thought it should be, than it should have been. And I'll just be honest. I don't agree with Brandon Staley. I understand his perspective and why he wanted to do it, but I don't agree with it. I will always prioritize health going into a playoff game over quote-unquote momentum or reps or whatever. Like, they can have all of them in the world, but if Joey Bosa, Derwin James, and Justin Herbert aren't there, you're not winning. So I don't think anyone, agrees with it. I think some people understand it. And again, we're talking about a ballsy head coach who does stuff kind of against the grain, who's pretty aggressive, who doesn't really care when anybody else thinks. He does what him and his players want to do. Those players wanted to be in. Austin Eckler talked about it. You're going to have to drag him out, take his helmet, or else he's playing. And yes, part of the importance of a head coach is to take matters out of the players' hands. But damn, it sucked seeing Mike Williams get hurt like that. And the optics were terrible. You know, he's on the ground for a bit, agony, goes off the sidelines, having to get helped by a couple trainers, then gets carted off the field. Then you see like the back view where he's like not feeling great. And then you hear afterwards, Brandon Staley says, oh, well, it's possible he could have played. And then, you know, fast forward, then you see /hear, I think Popper talked about it, a few people talked about it. Mike Williams like needed assistance from trainers to get into the bus. And so I think there's a little bit of truth in all of this. It seems like, again, just to kind of get people up to speed, MRIs were negative, X-rays were negative. It looks like it was just, was it back spasms? Is that what they're calling it?
That was the most consistent report that I was hearing.
And so Mike Williams, when Brandon Staley was asked today, is Mike Williams good to go? That's what he's under the impression of. Mike Williams will play on Sunday. Now, I don't know if it was, I think, real quick, Matthew Trudakowski says it was a contusion, which that was the latest that I heard, which basically it's a bruise. I go back and forth, Jake. I'll give you the floor here in a second. I'll go back and forth.
Oh, I'm just waiting.
I know. I'll go back and forth. They need Mike Williams, man. Like, and given the history, given kind of how much we've seen, how much he means to this team, given the injuries he's had in the past, given the narrative of the injuries this season, like there probably are like 8 to 10 guys that I'm like, do not let them get hurt. I would put Mike Williams in that, Keenan Allen's in that, Justin Herbert's in that. I would put Eckler in that, Derwin's in that, Bosa's in that, Max in that. Like, those are the guys, like, no excuse. I think he'll be fine. But it was a scare. People were pissed and people were questioning it. But I get the rage. I get it. Jake, you were a little bit more upset than me. How are you feeling now? It's been
a little more.
It's been roughly 24 hours since. How are you feeling now?
Let's just say as I sit here tonight, January 9th, I am not nearly as in my feelings or bullish about this situation as I was 24 hours ago. However, Dan, let's be real for 2 seconds. Brandon Staley has to be considered the luckiest man in Los Angeles tonight. Do you understand this? Because if these situations came back, especially with Mike Williams, and if these injury indications were anything more serious, if they were more serious for Kenneth Murray, if they were more serious for for Joey Bosa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we were on the show last week, and when we were previewing this game, I'm totally of the mindset that I don't want to go in with your starters in going into the playoffs with kind of cold, rusty, whatever it is you want to call it. I was fine with them taking a few series, and we saw that. And offensively, it looked good. I really had a problem with what Brandon Staley used as an excuse to basically say, well, this isn't the preseason. We don't have a 90-man roster that we could just field a whole nother unit out there. We only have 46 players that we can dress, or is it 48 now? Excuse me. You only have that condensed of a roster, so there's only
11 personnel. Put 3 tight ends. You can put Jake as a tight end. I don't care.
You know what? Tom Brady got yanked in the second quarter of his game. That didn't mean anything. And was he pissed about it? Yeah, he was pissed about it. But at the end of the day, who cares? Brian Daboll, New York Giants game, in a game that didn't mean anything, did not play his starting quarterback, his starting running back, and a handful of other players because of a situation of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
Now, call it what you will, but there is that fine line between wanting your players to stay in rhythm and then just being arrogant and just stupid. And Brandon Staley really rode that line. And luckily for him, you dodged some major obstacles with this. And you're
I think he knows it. And I think that's probably the frustration that you saw from him in the press conference yesterday.
And that was also why I didn't blame the fan base. Because going into this game, it's like the healthiest that the Chargers have been in God knows how long. And we all know, following this fan base for the better part of however long each one of us have, hang on a second, for each one of us have been following it. When the Chargers have an injured player, and even that we've seen this year, whatever they possibly say is like, oh, he's going to be fine. You may be waiting like an extra month until they end up coming back. So that is the reason why Charger fans are all up in their feelings, especially at that point and seeing those visuals with Mike Williams.
Yes, and I hear you. And again, I get it. But you can't be that surprised. I guess what I'm saying is you can't be that surprised. Like, this coach is like, he does not play scared. This isn't about winning one playoff game. This is like getting all the way. And he's probably like, sure, we can be Jacksonville. We're going to be hosed if we have no momentum. I don't know. I'm making this up. But this is about playing the Bills. This is about playing the Chiefs. Like, we need to have momentum. And honestly, I liked what I saw from the offense yesterday. Aside from the Mike Williams injury, which is kind of a fluke thing, which, again, that's how injuries happen, I liked the offense. I liked it. Eckler kind of had a rough day a little bit, but that's all right. And if it's a bruise, essentially, contusion, there are many ways you can get around that. Like, lots of folks have been here in the comments. Weston Werber, love the name. Put some icy hot on it. Mike Dubb will be fine. Cortisone shot, he's good, from Matthew. Jake, I have to put this question in here. Jorge Rodriguez wants to know, why is Jake in black and white?
Well, if you can't see it, I'm a fan of Stranger Things, so I have my Hellfire Club t-shirt on. If you happen to look at my closet, I mean,
about
75% of the shirts that I own are all black, so I'm kind of favored to go in that direction anyways. What can I say? I like black shirts. They look good. My favorite color.
On the pessimistic side, reality check comes in. Back spasms are debilitating. Looks worse short term than it actually is in the long run. Actually, no, maybe that's not pessimistic. So in the short term, meaning like in like the couple hours, sucks. Long term, days later, you're probably fine. Someone says TCU run defense looking like the Chargers.
It is, because I have it right here that I just keep glancing at, and it does. That's not far off.
Again, I don't put much stock into the outcome of that game. Like
I think that's the point.
No. I know. I'm moving on from the Mike Williams thing. I'm thinking of like, okay, people were upset that like we gave up. The run defense wasn't great. The things we talked about, the things that I was looking for: can the offense sustain drives? Can they produce and be efficient? That was the question. This defense, like Derwin James didn't play the whole game. The whole game. There were some blown coverages. Sure. But like, we've talked about this all season. People want to clown the Denver Broncos, and it's been a dumpster fire cluster. Their skill positions are very good. Like, very good. And say what you want about Russell Wilson. Like, he made some good plays. Like, should the Chargers have lost to them fully healthy? No. And honestly, I don't think they would have. Scott Childs has a question or a comment in here, Jake. McVay may have revealed a weakness. Denver did the Sam by running outside. I believe he meant same. Hope they correct the weakness.
I am very glad that someone said this, because after your soliloquy that you were going on as far as, I'm not that, worried about the outcome of the game. I get all that, Dan, because you wanted to see the exact same things as I did. But given what you saw from the Rams game and what Cam Akers did to this defense, we were going into this game wanting to see that clamp down a little bit. Again, this was Latavius Murray. That was the running back here, but it didn't matter. Usually it doesn't matter who the hell the running back is going up against the Chargers this season when it comes to rushing defense. So even the announcers were calling it out, Dan. They were saying, that could be something that Jacksonville is going to look at next week and try to take advantage of. And now you're going up against a much more fluid and versatile offense with Trevor Lawrence at the helm. So yeah, it's definitely something that when you're in the film room this week, coaches and players alike better be taking that into account, and hopefully you don't allow that weakness to kill you on defense.
If you're just tuning in, we are doing a live Q&A. The show is yours. Take the reins. So we're going through these comments and questions. If you have not already done so, please hit the like and subscribe button on YouTube. Helps us out a ton. Jake, let's get to some of these comments here real fast. QGT1 asks, score prediction for the Chargers versus Jacksonville game. We're nowhere near that.
It's too early.
It's too early.
It's too early in the week.
If you want to give yours, if you want to give yours, go for it. By the way, guys, we have an action-packed week on Chargers Unleashed. Multiple special guests, multiple episodes coming up this week after this. So very much looking forward to it. One of the crowd favorites, Jake, is going to be joining Chargers
Dan
Unleashed.
Wolkenstein once again.
Beep, boop, beep, boop, beep, boop, beep, boop.
Working the phones.
1-800-COLLECT. Do you remember when that was a thing?
Yeah, I remember that.
Dang, we are old. Someone asked, Matt Filer needs to step up, but who do you think will take his spot once Slater returns? Now, that's a two-part question. One, should someone take his spot? And if so, who?
I don't know if you cause more inconsistencies in the offensive line by when Slater comes back that you simply replace Matt Filer with, let's just say, Jamari Sawyer, who we all expect to be the long-term answer at
next year. Sure.
So I don't know in terms of continuity goes, because I'll say this. Matt Filer is a better player when Rashawn Slater is playing to his left. So let's think about that for a second. You do have to remember who's currently sitting at his left right now. As good as a fill-in as Jamari Sawyer has been for being a 6th-round rookie who has performed admirably, you're still going to have your inconsistencies and your drop-offs. So to me, I think you stick with what's been there and what's been familiar for Justin Herbert for the better part of the last 2 seasons, that if Slater does return, that you keep your core veteran offensive line intact.
I would agree. It's very tempting to put Jamari Sawyer there. It's tempting, but he has not done it once. And to have him go out there and do it for the first time in a playoff game, that's a lot of chips in the center of the table at the very beginning that might not be necessary. It just seems unnecessary. It's an unnecessary risk. Jake, how about this for some optimism? Nick Burnett, the Chargers are going to surprise us all next week and slay. I see what you did there. I can feel it. I think you meant feel it. We'll get into all the predictions and stuff later, but confidence level in this Chargers offense specifically.
I mean, you have to feel better about it, at least just from a personnel standpoint alone. You didn't have Keenan Allen in week 3.
Do you feel better in it? Do you feel better now than you did 2 weeks ago?
Personnel-wise, yes, I do. And I like the way that the offense has looked over the last 2 weeks because there's definitely been a lot of things that they have needed to correct and be consistent about going into the playoffs. So Keenan Allen wasn't there in week 3. You didn't have Donald Parham in week 3. You lose Rashawn Slater and Joey Bosa in that game. I believe that was also the game that Guyton went out, if I remember correctly. So this is a very different Chargers team just from a personnel standpoint alone. So now you go back and you look at that game. You look at, and obviously, how could we forget? Justin Herbert was just coming back off the rib injury from the week before against Kansas City,
of a week.
Which Joe Lombardi admitted after the game that he kind of just held the reins in that game because he wanted to be ultra careful and not put Justin in a position where he was going to get hurt. We've been through that after that game in week 3, and we've talked about the decisions that the coaching staff made by keeping Justin Herbert in there, but again, that's in the past. So a healthy Justin Herbert now with those weapons that he has, a returning Joey Bosa. We'll see about a possible return of Rashawn Slater. Who knows? But
Derwin James.
Yeah, I would think that they would go back and they would look at that film. It's going to be very, very different. So we'll see what happens.
Friend of the show, Joe Fernandez chimes in. Bolt up, my brothers. It's been a while since I've joined a live show. Missed you guys. All I am hoping for is for our boys to shut everyone up and ball out. And Joe Fernandez, first off, thanks for tuning in.
Joe Fernandez, or Dan Wolkenstein, just became the biggest fan of one Joe Fernandez right now.
Look, I've said this before. I said this to you, Jake. If the Chargers win this Saturday...
Still waiting for the shirt to be printed.
If the Chargers win this Saturday... Imagine the euphoria. Imagine how quiet... Bolt God, they quiet. Imagine how quiet some of these pessimistic, some of these haters, some of these leeches that are so toxic. Not all of them are. But there are some. You guys know who they are. You've seen them. If they win, crickets. It will be absolute crickets, and it will feel so good. So yes, all I'm hoping for as well is for the Chargers to ball out and shut everyone up. Let's see. Let's cut into some of these questions real fast. Weston Werber. Our fan base has been traumatized over the years, so I get it. The Broncos game was a lose-lose situation either way. I agree. I think Brandon Staley was screwed. Regardless, if you said he didn't play the starters, they would say, wow, we looked that mediocre against the Broncos team. How could we lose to the sorry Broncos? Like, if they lose, like it was kind of a lose-lose. I don't get it. There was an interesting one here that I thought was kind of funny. Let me see if I can find it. I think it was from, come on, it's coming up quick. Hold on. I lost it. Oh, well, I'll see if I can find it. But there was someone that asked, basically I'm paraphrasing, but they had said, Jake, that like, let's not pretend like Mike Williams isn't like injury prone to where like you can easily see him get hurt in the first play on Sunday. Not even related to the back spasm or the back contusion or the bruise. Like I don't put next week on Staley for Mike Williams. I don't. Like he dodged a bullet for sure. But like now we're good. I think most people in the comments, Jake, are saying they agreed with playing as starters, but also agree they should have had a personnel active to where once they got to a certain point, i.e. for you and me, those first 2 drives.
How about,
boys and girls?
Activate more than 4 wide receivers? This team has been doing that for the better part of this year, and that's even when Keenan Allen was not in the starting lineup. So give your personnel a little bit more depth while also giving your quarterback maybe an extra target to throw to. I don't know.
MB says, I think the defense play calls are pretty vanilla, though. I agree.
I don't disagree with that one bit.
I thought the defense, there was no positives to come from the defense balling out other than momentum. And then you get 11th win, which you've seen, Jake, some people have talked about. I wonder if there was a kicker for Brandon Staley if he got to 11 wins versus 10. Maybe we would have gotten paid more. Who knows? Jorge says, I don't think the defense really wanted to be out there. I disagree. I think every one of those players wanted to play. I don't think they wanted to.
Here's what I'll say to that, Dan. I agree with you, but if you're a defensive player and you see Kenneth Murray go out and Joey Bosa go out in a very short amount of time, you're out there, but are you really going at 100% after watching both of those guys go down? And it was noted that from all the man coverage that we've seen the Chargers been playing over these last couple of weeks, being more aggressive, it was much more soft zone. So, yes, defense from a vanilla standpoint, and I hope that was from a standpoint of just being, careful after the injury started to happen. But even as a player, it's just look, okay, let me just reset my head for a second. This game doesn't mean anything. We got the playoffs next week. I'm not going to go 100% here.
Jake, apparently you did me dirty when you did a SpongeBob impression. How I sounded.
Would you rather I make it like Stewie and we could, be talking like this a little bit now?
I wish I could talk like Stewie the whole day. That would make my day.
Oh, God, yes.
Okay, lots of questions here. People have been asking, a few people. Some people are predicting that Mike Williams is not going to play. People are asking, yes, I do think Mike Williams will be back. The coach said so. It's a back contusion, i.e. bruise, many things that could be done to help with that. But in short, yes. Okay? Everyone, if anybody else sees anybody in the comments asking that question, help us out. Just tell them they already said it. Yes. Dan, okay.
I got something that might not necessarily help back contusions.
Okay.
But will definitely help you feel good internally.
Oh, I know we're going. Did you have it today?
If I did have it earlier today, yes. Or if you're in Dan Wolkenstein's case, his optimism is lifted every time that he grabs a big cup of Athletic Greens. If you guys have been following the show, Dan and I have been taking Athletic Greens now for about the past 2 months. Specifically for me, I like to stay in shape. I go to the gym regularly, but my diet has been absolute crap. Look, I can tell you a little story right now. Yes, I don't have any discipline when it comes to my diet. Yes, I like fast food. What can I say? I'm a big lover of In-N-Out. And so has my wife been over the past couple of days because a burger has sounded really good to the both of us over the last 3 days. And yes, we have had that for dinner. But when I'm not eating In-N-Out burgers or any other type of fast food, definitely Athletic Greens from a standpoint of getting all of the essential vitamins, minerals, nutrients that you need for essential when it comes to just overall health, especially when it comes to your gut, like me writing that line of pushing 40. Athletic Greens is definitely something to go out there and get your hands on. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is go and visit athleticgreens.com/Chargers Unleashed. That is athleticgreens.com/Chargers Unleashed to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
We don't sling stuff we don't actually enjoy personally. AG1, I'm telling you, is probably one of the most delicious things.
This is the residue right here. I still haven't absolutely finished it, but this was it.
Take it from us. It tastes way better than a lot of these other things that you're getting that has so many vitamins, minerals, vegetables, you name it. AG1 from Athletic Greens. Go to athleticgreens.com/Chargers Unleashed and get yourself healthy, especially the new year, all these resolutions. Jake, turn the page. Proverbial page now turned. Thoughts on Jacksonville? How confident do you guys feel about this matchup? Now, I'm going to let this thing go out and just say this. We're talking about Jake Hefner here. And
can't wait to see where this goes.
The Chargers could be playing the B squad of the Texans. And Jake will come out and say, I'm not feeling too good about this one, Dan. This is totally a trap game. Chargers are going to lose this one. I don't feel good about it. Now we're in the playoffs. Chargers are playing the Jaguars. Best you could have gotten as a Chargers fan. Jake, how confident are you?
Well, Dan, nice shot. Good try.
But
what? You missed the point, my friend, because if you're going to try to use the example of the Chargers are going to lose to a B squad of the Houston Texans, well, guess what? They did last year when they had the playoffs on the line, so don't try to put that past me when that situation happens. Look, there was a time earlier on in this season where the inconsistencies were just all over the place, and they were too big not to miss. Like, they were huge. From a standpoint of, let's just start with Joe Lombardi and the offense, which has been my biggest criticism this entire season about this team, outside of health, because health you can't even use an excuse for. It is still amazing that Justin Herbert threw for just under 5,000 yards without having one of his receivers go for 1,000. That stat is ridiculous considering everything that has happened to him and the rest of this offensive unit this year. But what has taken place over these last couple of weeks, this is what I want us to see. Dan, I still didn't see it enough in Tennessee. I still didn't see it enough in Indianapolis. You needed to sort of right the ship, especially if you're going to be making a playoff push. Over these last 2 weeks, I haven't had much to say in terms of negativity as it relates to Joe Lombardi and his offensive play calling. Now, can you keep that consistency going? Can you utilize what seems to work really, really good with your offense, and more specifically with your star quarterback? Maximize the potential of your quarterback and the players around him into your offensive game planning and calling of the offense. Do that, and I'll feel a lot better. That's been my biggest criticism. I don't have any other outwards hate of anything.
I agree. But
that has been my biggest criticism.
Okay, so
what are my thoughts on Jacksonville? Well, I said earlier.
How confident or unconfident do you feel about this matchup?
I feel more confident about it than anybody should have going into week 3 with a banged up Justin Herbert, no Keenan Allen, no Donald Parham, an injured Joey Bosa, an injured Rashawn Slater. You feel more confident going into this game 100%. Still things to figure out, i.e., the run game, which has been a consistent issue as far as the defense goes. You need to figure out a way to clamp that down. 2 ways to do it. You either stop the run or your offense goes nuclear and you build up such a lead to where they can't rely on the run anymore. So we'll take more of a deep dive as we get further on into the week and closer to the Jacksonville game on Saturday. But just at surface level, Dan, for what I'll tease right now, yeah, I feel more confident standing now from what I've seen over the last few weeks, but you still have some things you need to work out.
Scott Childs comes in, and I'll bury the lead here, Jake. Obviously, I feel very confident about this one. We'll talk about this later.
God.
Are you shocked? Shocker. Spoiler alert. Scott Childs comes in. Jaguars caught the Chargers in a perfect disaster. He's talking about earlier in the season. Now things are more even. We'll see what happens. Matthew Trzynski? Nick Wright, of course, Nick Wright, thinks that the prince that was promised, i.e. Trevor Lawrence, is going to beat us. Are you surprised?
No, I'm not surprised. Nick Wright actually had a nice few weeks of talking about how good the Chargers were and how good they looked. Now, we all know Nick Wright's fandom and where that resides with, but whatever. Whatever.
Weston Herbert, we are going to have to hear Duval all week, which honestly, it's so dumb. It's so dumb.
We'll think about that just for a second. The last time that the Jaguars were playing in the playoffs, it's been a minute. So you better believe that they're going to be coming with Duval all week, and rightfully so. Why shouldn't they be excited? So just expect to hear it, understand why it's going to be there, but go out there and handle your business.
I mean, as much as I clown them because like it's annoying, it's so annoying, and it just feels a little weird. Like their teams in the playoffs, they just won a pretty great game, although they didn't play well. But like the way that season went for them and the Titans, like polar opposite. Like, yeah, they have reason to be on a high. I get it. But yes, folks started talking about, like in the comments here, Jags fans are 100% confident they're going to beat us. The pressure's all on them, which they're the home team.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
They beat the Chargers early in the season.
Why wouldn't you?
So, but I'll say this. MB says this. Their fan base deserves it. Although they are on the line of being Miami obnoxious.
Are they really? Because
I haven't gone that far.
You know, that's a pretty high pedestal to get up to. I mean, there's believe it or not, there's actually peaks that are higher in the obnoxious tower other than Miami.
I don't. Okay,
I wouldn't consider that Jacksonville is close.
Yeah, I wouldn't
think that they're that close. Really? No. I mean, maybe I'm not in the Twitter sphere that much when it comes to the Duval hashtag. Somebody tell me if I'm wrong on that, but I don't see that many Jacksonville fans being up to that level.
No, the silent minority of Jaguars fans are pretty crazy. So talk about Jacksonville for a second. Let's just kind of go very high level, okay? We're not going to get into the weeds. We have all week for this. Jacksonville offense, Chargers offense. Which one are you taking? If you were to put a check mark by one of them, which one are you putting as the advantage?
I would say, and it's weird that I don't want this to be taken the wrong way.
You're going to say the Jaguars.
I only say that because it is a little bit more well balanced with the way that its run game has been a little bit more consistent throughout this season. As I said, the Chargers need to get that going if they are going to make a playoff push. They did it last week against the Rams. You weren't too successful with it against the Denver Broncos. In weeks past, it's been like this. You've had your good days and you've had your bad, but you really need to make that an established part of your offense. If this offense can become balanced with the way that Justin Herbert has been playing, as sharp as he has been over these last couple of weeks, the Chargers can be dangerous, extremely dangerous if they can get that ship righted. So just from what I see on paper with how Doug Peterson is operating that offense with his play calling and his offense and the balance that he looks for, yeah, I'll give the tip of the cap there. Quarterback, you already know who I'm going to favor in that scenario. Wide receivers, the Chargers have that. I understand all that. But from a balance standpoint,
overall,
that's where I give it to Jacksonville.
No, but if I said which offense is better?
Personnel-wise, obviously the Chargers have the better personnel in that regard.
Okay. Defense. Jaguars, Chargers. This is a little bit more interesting.
Yes, because I think you look for the strengths and weaknesses between if you were to go from the defensive line to the middle to the secondary, there's cases to be made. If Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack return to the version that we saw before Joey Bosa went down in week 3, this could get interesting.
If they could be like that with the way that this team has been playing against the runner the last month.
It's also including, and Dan and I have said this, when we have heard over this last month in relation to this defense, when you're hearing guys that aren't household names, you're not hearing Joey Bosa, you're not hearing just Derwin James, you're not hearing just Drew Tranquill, but you're hearing guys like Kenneth Murray, Morgan Fox, Kyle Van Noy, what he has come into over these last 5 weeks, Jasir Taylor, what he's done. How about Michael Davis? You get that defense playing the way it has over for the better part of this last month. You can get a defense that can stifle that Jaguars offense, I believe.
Special teams.
Oh.
Weirdly, it's the Chargers. It feels so weird to say.
I mean, I mean, yes. I mean, if we're taking it as a whole, including Dicker the kicker in that, and then your coverage units,
and your punter,
maybe you'd like to see a little bit more from your return unit, but I mean, yeah, overall the special teams haven't killed you, so it's probably been the most consistent unit that you've had this season, which is really bizarre to say for a Chargers team.
Jake, one of the funniest names that I've seen come into the chat is
I'm looking at it right now.
Girthy Guitarist.
That's great.
It has like the Rolling Stones lips with the Chargers logo on the tongue, which is pretty funny.
That's good.
Girthy Guitarist says, let's hope the Chargers can catch and not fumble.
That'd be nice. That'd be nice.
I have so many questions about the name, Girthy Guitarist.
You had issues with catching and fumbling last week, so let's just hope you got that out of your system.
Do you think the girth is referring to the guitar?
I don't know, but you know what? I have a fat cat, and I use the term girth a lot anyways, so kudos to Girthy Guitarist for putting together a name like that.
Reality chat comes in. Who remembers Blake Bortles, then Jalen Ramsey Jags?
I remember it.
Shout out. A lot of people in the comments are talking about kind of the position by position group, and Chargers are taking most of the time. Jorge Rodriguez says girthy fingers.
Girthy fingers.
That sounds like a great name for like a fantasy football team.
Look, with about 12 minutes left in this show, just start inserting girthy into anything that you could possibly do, and let's just filter them through.
All right, here we go. All right, so
have a little bit of fun.
Okay, so look, we've had a girthy episode here.
There you go. Now we're talking.
And I think it's important for folks to kind of, I was going to leave this girthy fingers up for a bit, because anyone who comes in now for the first time is going to be like, what the hell are they talking about? Also,
what show is this?
If you're first time tuning in, hit the like and subscribe for more girthy takes.
Fingers.
So Jake, look, let's talk about Jacksonville for a second. I agree. I think their offense is more balanced than the Chargers as a whole. But I honestly don't know if that matters. Like,
it's true.
Oftentimes, the godlike quarterback wins playoff games. And Trevor Lawrence has looked pretty darn good this season. But let's call a spade a spade. Like, he's not Justin Herbert.
You're right about that. And it's interesting for both of these quarterbacks, they're being their first playoff appearance since they've been in the NFL. How is each one of them going to respond? Trevor Lawrence has been on those big stages. Justin Herbert has been on those big stages. Here's where the X factor kind of comes into play, Dan. I mean, Doug Peterson's been there before. Mm-hmm. This is Brandon Staley's first time as a head coach getting into there. So let's see what he can possibly dial up to be creative. But yeah, from a personnel standpoint, the Chargers have all the girth. Let's just say that. From a personnel standpoint, they got the girth. Now, can you go out and execute properly? Oh my God. Yeah. Now we're talking. Harry Potter and the Girthly Hallows. Now we're getting creative. I like it.
Oh man, this is too much fun. Folks who are late joining, we've already talked about the injury sustained yesterday. We already talked about the impact. We already talked about the Brandon Staley decision. If you haven't had a chance, rewind. You can go look at it. We're currently just going for as many ways to use the term girth for these last 7 minutes. Scott Childs again from the top rope. Star Wars, the girth strikes back. But Jake, okay, so in my eyes, I think this defense, I think they kept receipts from that week 3 game. And that week 3 game, there are a lot of folks who were not playing and or who got hurt. I don't think Corey Linsley was playing in that game. And who was out? Michael Williams and Keenan Allen? One of those two did not play.
That was also coming off the week from Kansas City that you lost Corey Linsley in the game. You also lost Trey Pipkins late in that game. I can't remember if either one of them were playing in that game.
It's a very different team now. The Chargers secondary is playing together on a string. Bryce Callahan is balling out. I think he should be good to go. Alohi Gilman's been great. Derwin James will be back. You saw what Derwin James did in one half of football. Week 17. Like, heat-seeking missile. And Joey Bosa back with Khalil Mack. Setting both edges, I think, is going to be key. I like our squad, Jake. I like our squad. This is the goodest time as ever. And man. Reality check. Let's talk about this. The girthy neck of Trevor Lawrence. Jake, question for you. If Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence were action figures, which ones would they be?
Wow. This is interesting because I think to like the comic books, maybe like a Gambit or maybe a Adam Warlock. You know, you kind of use the long hair as just a base point for that to think of action figures or superheroes. But look, girthy neck. As much as I like this comment from Reality Check, you just kind of reminded me of it. Who has a more girthier neck than Mike Glennon? I mean, or Glennon. Yeah, Mike Glennon. Anybody remember Mike Glennon? Yeah. Neck. Girth. That's Mike Glennon.
It's neck Glennon, actually. Yeah. Oh, man. All right, so we've got some predictions in here. Someone's saying 31-17 Chargers. Someone says Chargers 47, Girth 0. Which will be happening on Planet Girth, according to Reality Check. Jake, we got 5 minutes. Guys, gals, in the comments, last chance. Let's kind of go rapid fire. Any questions, topics, discussion points you'd like us to cover?
The early lines right now, Dan, since people are starting to throw out game predictions, the early lines right now is Chargers are favored by 1.5 points.
It's going to move.
Over under is 47.
Oh.
I'd pound the over for sure. I would pound the over for sure.
Yes. Shadokis. I'm hoping I say that correct. After the Heath Adventures predicts 27-23 Bolts, which puts that at 50, so they take the over. Do you see the team occasionally using Chicken Parm as wide receiver?
I personally love how they have started using Donald Parham more this game against Denver. You look at last week against the Rams, and even the week before that, Dan, there was the play that was negated for holding, but Donald Parham got free for like a 30-yard pass that didn't even count. So what I would like to see is them utilizing more of their two tight end sets between Gerald Everett and Donald Parham in the red zone, which we got a preview of last week. I'd like to see more of that. Give me more of that, please.
Vile Productions. If anyone thinks the Chargers were trying 109% yesterday, you're delusional. I think right. We all agree.
That's right.
I'll agree.
I don't disagree with that.
Matthew takes the over and the Chargers minus 1.5. He also attempted to do it with Donald Girtham.
Donald Girtham.
I don't know if I buy that one. Ooh, good question. Put in the comments.
I guess
put in the comments.
Fair. I guess it's fair at this point in time. Yeah. Put
bold
in the comments.
Predictions.
We can start talking about bold predictions. Okay.
Yes. In the comments, tell us what your bold predictions are for this Chargers Jaguars game. And hell, Jake, if we get someone who can get it correct, I don't know exactly what we'll do, but Jake and I will.
How about a giveaway?
We'll do a giveaway.
We'll do a giveaway.
All right. If you get it right, giveaway is yours.
The girth is yours.
I can't.
Go ahead, Dan. Make a bold prediction for this game.
Bold prediction. I think Justin Herbert has over 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. And I think you're going to see it from 4 different receivers.
He's going to spread it out that much.
Yep. And I'm going to go 2 tight ends and 2 receivers.
2 wide receivers. Okay.
2 tight ends / running back, 2 receivers.
Oof.
So I'm thinking Parham. And then I'm torn between Gerald Everett and Austin Eckler because you've seen Austin Eckler get so many. He's at 18. And then I think Mike Williams and Keenan Allen both get one.
Oh. I say Austin Eckler stays hot. I say he goes for over 100 yards in this game, as you've seen it with this coaching staff. Still, even when it doesn't necessarily work to the offense's benefit or even look good on the final stat sheet, they still will remain committed to the run. So I think you'll see the run game as non-existent as it looked yesterday and as inconsistent as it has looked throughout this season. I'll make a bold prediction to say Austin Eckler gets in the end zone twice, goes over 100 yards rushing on his own.
Okay. We've got some bold predictions in here. Scott Childs says Herbert gets 4 touchdowns. Daniel Hordak has Chargers 34, Jacksonville 16. That's a blowout. We've got Jorge Rodriguez in here saying defense gets minimum 2 picks and over 5 sacks. They make Trevor Lawrence look mediocre, which, if we're being honest, the Tennessee Titans made Trevor Lawrence look mediocre. Steve Doyle, Chargers 23, Girth 17. Woodrow Piney. Keenan Allen has some dance moves that need to be discussed, though. For real.
Bro, my favorite of this, I even paused this moment in the game to rewind it and show my wife what he did. I can't remember what quarter it was, but it was right after he had a catch, and it looked like he was like getting up like real slowly, and then just all of a sudden just went into the hole. Just out of nowhere. It looked great. I loved it.
Was he doing the Superman? Is that what that was?
I don't know what the hell he was doing, but it looked good. He made it look good. I made it look like crap. But he made it look like good.
We're wrapping up. Let's go into some of these. Rupon says Keenan Allen over Mike. Keenan and Mike over 100 yards each. That's a bold prediction. Marin, I'm terrible with names. I apologize. Eckler gets both a receiving touchdown and a rushing touchdown. Jorge's excited to see what Bosa and Mac duo looks like. Steve Doyle says Bosa gets 2 sacks.
Return.
Scott Childs has Eckler goes for 53 yards, a touchdown.
Rushing touchdown and a passing touchdown.
Okay. So 2 touchdowns for him. Matthew, Chargers defense, 4 sacks, 2 interceptions. Ooh, 2 defensive touchdowns was called out here. Chargers block punt, bold prediction. Man, if I hope
we got a girthy special teams prediction.
Oh, this is too fun. All right, guys, gals, we're going to be wrapping this thing up. We have a ton in store for you this week. Stay tuned. New episode coming tomorrow. I'll tell you that right now. Friend of the show's coming all week. Very exciting time. Chargers are in the playoffs. They are the number 5 seed going up against the number 4 Jacksonville Jaguars. We get to talk about playoff football. Jake does not get to talk about the draft. And that makes me so happy. I can't tell you how much we appreciate everyone out there who has been supporting us throughout this entire thing. It's been a wild ride, and to think this is just the beginning, Jake, is pretty insane to me. We may or may not be at Radio Row. There may be some Chargers Unleashed presence, an LAFB presence at Radio for the Super Bowl. And imagine the euphoria, Jake, if the Chargers are there. Just imagine for a second.
Imagine the girth.
Imagine the girth of our euphoria if the Chargers are there. If you have not already, please hit the like and subscribe button for us. Helps us out a ton. We're kind of on the road to get this thing up to another level. Last thing, Jake, reality check. How about Dicker the kicker yesterday with the 54-yard field goal, smooth like butter? I was a little worried about that. I'm like, please, like the one thing I don't want to see is like Dicker missing one field goal before the playoffs and the whole crowd goes into a frenzy.
Look, you could talk about how amazingly consistent that the Chargers kickers have been this entire year. And let's not forget, Dicker the kicker was not the full-time starter at the beginning of this season. And still, when it comes to field goals, screw it. I'm not even going to put that out there.
No, don't.
Because I fully believe in the announcer's curse, and I'm not going to do that. The hell with that.
Good for you. For Jake Hefner, this has been a ton of fun. You can find him at Jake T. Hefner or on Netflix watching...
Oh, come on, man. Really?
I had a brain fart. Hellfire. What the frick is the name of that? Stranger Things. I'm sorry. I'll take the L on that. Oof. I watched
bastard.
Girthy Bastard you can find at Dan W Sports or on Netflix trying to search for Stranger Things but can't think of it. Guys, gals, children of all ages, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Live shows are always fun. Jake, I'm glad we did this. Good call. We have at least 2 more shows coming out. Thank you so much for tuning in to Chargers Unleashed. We'll talk to you next time. Over and out, Jake. It's been fun. We'll talk to you soon. All right, buddy?
Yes, sir.
All right, guys, gals, have a great evening. Enjoy playoff week for your Los Angeles Chargers, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye!
Welcome to another round of Drawing Board or Miro Board. Today, we talk brainstorms with UX designer Brian. Let's go. First question. You thought you'd see everyone's idea in the team brainstorm, but you've got a grand total of 1. Drawing board or Miro board?
Drawing board, right? Because in Miro, the team can add ideas now or later. And with privacy mode, we can keep them anonymous until they're good to share.
Correct. Next, you need the best way to explain your idea, but all you have is a few sticky notes. Drawing board or Miro board?
Drawing board, because, in Miro, I could record videos, add text, images, links, and digital sticky notes, of course, present my thoughts the way I want.
Right again. Now, you're looking for a past idea you thought was just genius. Only you could find... Oh, there it is. Drawing board or...
Miro. All our finished and unfinished work lives in one place.
And he's won.
Join over 60 million people getting ideas noticed in Miro brainstorms. Get your first 3 boards for free at Miro.com. That's Miro.com.